All right, Mac 248, Production Procedures, Tuesday class, the 17th of February. What we talked about today was I went back over, because a student pointed out how confusing the book is about why they think that the bottlenecks have spread. So I went right back to those pages where Stacy really just kind of says in a nutshell that they're releasing materials too fast. But after that, it becomes a whole lot less clear. So I went back and read that parts of the book, and then I made up this diagram that was trying to show the flow of red and green parts through the plant, and how this releasing scheme that they have now was causing the problem. 80% of their parts went through the bottleneck, and 20% did not. They were the green tagged parts, and they went through machines and then ended up at assembly. The red tag parts went through the bottleneck, and they were releasing way too many red tag parts and too many green tag parts in order to keep everybody working all the time. What they didn't know was they were kind of doing a stupid thing there, shooting themselves in the foot, doing something out of their own best interest by insisting that people be working all the time. What that did was that caused the priority of the red parts to cause green parts to stack up and not get to assembly. Bottom line was 17 parts, I think, of one assembly never showed up at the end, so the parts had to sit there and wait until they could redo all of their priority systems to get the green tag non-bottleneck parts to assembly. Rogo goes home, talks to his kids, and comes up with a drum buffer rope analogy to solve this problem. And in the end, the red tag parts are released by a drum beat to match the flow through the bottleneck. In other words, don't release the red tag parts any faster than they can go through the bottleneck or to our parallel routings to the old machines or to the heat treat vendor. Don't release them any faster than that so that they don't pile up. It turns out they have so much extra inventory, it takes almost a month for that to get used up. The green tag parts never go through the bottleneck, and since we don't release so many red parts, now they can get through their non-bottleneck Y resources and get to assembly on time. They are very pleased at the end, after having figured this out, that they they eliminate their back orders. They have decreased the amount of time it takes to get from the front door to the back, and they now have certainty about when parts will clear the bottleneck and when they will get to the customer ultimately after assembly. This certainty leads to the next thing, which was more. They take their good results to the company board meeting or all the big wigs. Mr. Rogo gives his good report, and he doesn't get a ho-hum, but he does get I need more than this. I need you to not only return me something this month, but next month and the month after that. And so Rogo says, are you still thinking about shutting us down? And he said, well, I haven't said I haven't. What do you want? Rogo says. Peach says, I want 15% more on the bottom line. That's a big deal. But Rogo shocks him by saying, okay, we'll give it to you. And then he leaves the meeting thinking about how he's going to do it. Well, it turns out they always want more. And there will always be politics in any of these things. People are not going to like it when you beat them at the game. And I started talking about politics in this part of the thing. Politics is nothing more than the setting of policy based on whoever is in charge's view of what reality is right now. So why people don't like to talk about politics is because it has to do with the very nature of reality, and it's so important. It affects all of our lives every day, how we're going to live. So it's a subject that justifiably a lot of people want to avoid. But I told you in this class that you should know where you fall on the political spectrum, if you will, the political number line. Here is the middle. On the left and the far left is Stalin and the communists, and over here on the far right, if you will, I couldn't think of anybody else, maybe Hitler. Where do you fall in these kind of things? You should know what your politics are, and you should know what the other people you have to deal with, what their politics are. Because a person who wants to succeed is going to have to politically assuage people. Sometimes success is more unforgivable than failure. So anyway, this demand for more leads Rogo say, I got to increase the business here in my plant. If I'm going to turn 15% more to peach, then I'm going to need more business. And he talks to Jonah about it, and Jonah says, half your lot sizes. Cut all of your lot sizes in half. And this leads to the four times the discussion. That the parts, as they flow through the plant, see these 4 times. The first one is setup time. If you had 100 parts and 2 hours of setup time, then that 2 hours of setup time would be divided over all of those 100 parts. The next after setup time is process time, or what we call cycle time. You set the machine up, you put the part in the vise, you push the button, and that's the process time. From then till you pull it off of the vise and stack the part. The next time is queue time, which is the time it waited on the floor on the pallet before you could put it into the machine and on the vise. The last time was wait time, which is after it's been processed and it goes to the end. How long does it wait until it's assembled and then shipped out the back door? Wait time is also very important. And all of these end up to be the part costs and a direct labor hour or a direct labor minute gets applied to the cost of the whole thing. Well, it turns out that if you half the lot sizes, 3 of those 4 times get cut in half. And you can increase the speed of flow through the plant and also how steady the flow is. And this steady flow and this decreased queue time, process time, and and all those other times, they add up to be a decreased lead time through the plant. They go from a 4-month quote for business to a 4 weeks, and we will deliver all you have, all you need in 4 weeks. That's a heck of a decrease, and it all comes about because they cut down on the lot sizes. Well, the students asked, why didn't they do this all along? Well, there was a thing called Economical Batch Quantity, EBQ, that the accountants had thought of, and it seemed like a very good idea at the time to keep the per part cost low. You divide the setup time over a certain amount of parts to keep that number down. Well, that might go through for the bottleneck resources, but you're not saving anything on non-bottleneck resources by saving setup time. An hour saved on a bottleneck is an illusion. An hour saved on a non-bottleneck, I should say. An hour saved on a non-bottleneck is an illusion. An hour saved on a real bottleneck, that's an hour of production time for the entire plant. So when you come back in on Wednesday, I'm going to go over this half a lot size and the politics of tap dancing, if you will, that went on at these meetings. I told you to read ahead and please be at about page 290 or 300 by Tuesday. Johnny Johns is the marketing guy at the company, and he brings this Burnside order in, and it turns out that Burnside was the guy at the very beginning whose order was so behind that it caused the machinist to crash the machine and start this whole ball of wax going. So things have come full circle in the novel. We'll be here in another 2 weeks. Thanks for turning in your take-home quiz. Thank you.